Hey folks, Mike here from Wild Oscar. I had an opportunity over the weekend to nerd out with Mark Milivojević. Mark and I never seem to have a shortage of things to talk about, so our conversation went on for about 90 minutes, but I edited it down to about a half an hour, and I'll put some timestamps in to help folks bounce around if they need to. I think we had a great conversation. Mark isn't a person that shies away from controversy and controversial opinions, so yeah, fair warning, there might be some controversial opinions in there and just a sprinkling of profanity, but I hope that you enjoy it, and I know I did. Also, I'm going to put a link to Mark's YouTube channel, where Slinger, where you can check out some samples of his playing. And if you really want to nerd out, if you're a super nerd, I'll put a link to the full conversation. So if you don't want to see the unedited version, that goes for about 90 minutes. It'll be there for you if you want to have a look. But yeah, here's Mark and I nerding out. Recording. How you doing, brother?
You know what? I can't complain. I'm doing well.
I'm just here in our studio. We just got out of the this is our rehearsal studio. We just got out of the recording studio for drums. We're still in there doing some guitar and some vocals. So I here today packing everything back in and get ready for an audition here this week. So I'm the drummer right now, but hoping to go back to my guitar player duties before too long. So we're auditioning another drummer, and I'm here with Mark. Now, Mark, I've always just said Mark, the Shredder guy, and of course it's Mark Slinger on YouTube. And but what's your last name, Mark?
Oh, so it's pronounced Milivojević.
Oh, okay. I have a little note here where I tried to my little version of it, and I didn't get it.
Yeah, no. Hey, listen, honestly, this, you might laugh, but I wake up sometimes too, and I go, if I got to sign something for the kid, is there one eye? Is it it is what you never really grasp it, So
yeah. So I met you. The first time I met you was we were trading guitars. Now that's how our relationship started. And I remember you came, and I think the first one that you got from me was this little Godin I had, and I feel like I got a Flying V from you.
Yes, maybe. You did.
Did you have a blue Flying V? And I remember kind of trying it, make sure it works. And you had that one. And I said, hey, do you want to check it out, see if it works? You're like, okay. And you plugged it in and started to play how you play. And I was just like, holy shit, man. So I'll throw some clips in here and some links, but if you haven't seen Mark play, it's really something else. So it really makes me think about, so when did you start playing? Like, how old were you?
So I would have been in grade 8. So what is that, 12-ish? So I wanted to be a drummer.
Oh.
And
the dream, man.
And my father was like, absolutely not, because band practice would be at my fucking house, and that's not going to happen. And so we went. I don't know if they had these it was a pawn shop. It was called Cash Converters in Ontario. But anyway, so he's like, well, I'm going to buy a used one. It was a Vantage, and looking back, it was actually a good guitar to start on. Vantage was actually a pretty good company. And it was a copy of like a single coil Strat, so like a 3 single. Anyway, the action on that fucking thing must have been 3 inches off. I always tell people I play so good because I didn't know any better. Because when you're 12 and you get your first instrument, you think that's how they're all built. You're so naive, right?
Yeah.
And so I picked that up, and then high school had guitar class starting in grade 10. And I was in a really interesting, I want to say, period, because like I had all the classic rock. My dad was saying, okay, if you want to do this, here's ZZ Top, here's AC/DC, here's Whitesnake and Aerosmith, and then at that same time you had punk pop, which like Blink-182 was coming out really big, and but then there was also nu metal. So I was getting, torn in like multiple directions of like, well, which way do I go? So I just had to learn everything. But where it really stuck with me was when I discovered metal for itself. And, you don't realize things. I don't know what it was like for you, your journey, but I think every generation kids, they feel like they're repressed in some way, or there's school on them. And music, it like Tom Morello said in an interview, it speaks to the reptilian side of your brain. You don't know what it is, but it's been a journey that honestly, I don't want to sound cliche, but music has actually saved my life.
100%.
And I actually tell people that music's actually my religion.
Yeah.
You know, because I preach that it has saved my life more than once. Yeah. I've like just even this talking to you, I've met such interesting people.
Yeah.
Honestly, I know it sounds crazy, but it's the truth. You never know who you're going to meet through music and stuff. Yeah. And I'll tell you, there's days where you gotta love music, because there are days where it don't fucking love you back, man. It just don't love you back. So
yeah, you know, that's such a good way to put it, because there's so many people that want to play, and I've always said you have to love the process. You have to be happy to sit and suck for a while, and not that you're okay with it and can push through it. It's just like you're okay with it, like you're enjoying that process too. Yeah. But that's such a good way to put it. Like there's some days you have to love it even when it doesn't love you back, because it will. It'll come back around for you.
You know, there's a certain level I find of commitment that a lot of musicians have. Because I'll be honest, it's not easy. Like when people come to me and say, "Oh, you're so good," or whatever, it's not that I don't like the acknowledgement of it, Mike. But you know how many hours I spent? That's like, say you get it, and so I think it takes a certain level of dedication to be a musician, because I mean it's constantly you mentally and physically straining yourself. Yeah. Constantly. I don't know what it was like for you, but I was a little freak 100%. As a kid. I would sit on my guitar. I'd get home at like 4 p.m. And I kid you not, I'd sleep with the guitar. I know this sounds crazy. I
still do sometimes.
You know, like it's so clearly it's a passion, and it keeps me going. You know, it really does.
Yeah. I definitely find it's the people I relate and connect to, like, and I would love to be able to connect with more people, but I do find my friend base from over the years are musicians, and those lifelong friends that I've grown, like to your point, the people that I've met and been in the trenches with and stuff like those are my people, you know, and like I said, even at my age now, I'm in my mid 50s, you know, we're writing songs and doing stuff, and without any real dreams of, hey, we're gonna blow the roof off the place, but at the same time we're serious about it, and we love it, and it's something that I don't know, like from a quality of life standpoint, if there you know, I would figure out some other way to be part of it or to do it if I couldn't play.
From a popularity standpoint, I can tell you I was definitely not the popular kid. Yeah. I was, you know, I didn't really blossom until almost college. I was the short, pudgy kid most of my life. The girls I liked sure as hell didn't like me at that time. And, you know, so I found solace in music. I know this sounds crazy, but, and, you know, and when you're 12, 13 and you see guys like, you know, Randy Rhoads, Slash, Zakk Wylde, Van Halen, Jimi Hendrix, you know, Jimmy Page, you see these guys, you know, I would totally close my eyes. I'd pretend that I was these famous people. I know this sounds ridiculous, but this is what I did throughout my youth. And then, you know, you come full circle once you start playing live, you know, and then what happens is you become the guitarist that knows everything behind a closed door. Then the second you get put on the spot, you forget everything, you know? And I experienced it when I was like 16, first open jam. And I'm like, you freeze because you have all these people watching you. You start second guessing yourself.
Yeah. Everything, your fingers feel like they're just made out of lead. And I know, you know what I think, like when you name, like say like Jimmy Page and everybody, all these heroes, I bet when you go back, they also, like, they ended up in their room a lot, and it was their friend too, you know. So you started when you were about 12. When was the first time you were in a band?
Oh man, I have a pretty tumultuous history with bands. Things always seem to go so well, and then they fizzle out. But I would say the first time, probably 15, 16, garage band kind of thing. One of the first, I remember that were the first songs that I played in a band. It was the first time where like my dad and the other dads were kind of like, maybe there's something here. It was we played Rock You Like a Hurricane by the Scorpions.
Oh, that's no joke. Yeah, right on.
Yeah, and I don't know what we sounded like back then. It must have sounded like distortion in a tin can or something. But you know what? We played it, and then some pep rallies and stuff kind of happened. But I really didn't notice much success until shortly after college in my early 20s.
Okay.
And actually, one of the best ways was actually just going to open jam. And like I'm self-taught. I've taught myself. So I usually tell people when they ask me, I don't know if I'm the best person to teach because I probably have a lot of bad habits that I'm not aware of. Maybe I learned that it works for me, but maybe it's bad posture or something for other guitarists, right? But the way that I rapidly learned was actually jamming with people better than me. And that's why I always say circle yourself with better musicians. And I would literally, it's no secret, I would just steal licks from different guys. Oh, that's what you do. That's what you do. How do you do the tapping thing? And then how do you, oh, wow, that's cool feedback. And how you get like your guitar to, how the fuzz pedal works. How does a wah pedal work? All this stuff. You know, and one of the best things too, I tell guitar players, especially, is guitar players are phenomenal closet musicians, but they don't have a sense of timing. You get this as a drummer.
Oh yeah.
And I usually and dynamics is another thing that they have to learn. And you don't learn that unless you have to come out of your comfort zone. So even though I like more hard rock music, I forced myself, okay, learn blues, learn to do swing music, learn to do country music. Because at the end of the day, you can pull all of these ideas to something really unique and creative and bring it back to metal. It all connects the dots.
Yeah. You know, that's a good segue because so I know your band Kill for Candy, you had a song.
Oh, that was called Run.
Run, yeah. And the thing that struck me, just because you're saying like, you know, you have all these influences and it's a great song, and it's really melodic, and of course you got a great singer and the whole band is great players. But the thing that struck me, just knowing how you can play and the things that you're capable of in that song, to me, you still you serve the song.
Again, getting closer to 40 and understanding the song, it's not about the guitar player. It's about the song. And sadly, that band has imploded. I'm not going to explain what happened.
Sure.
But it's still a staple that I can say, you know, that we did. But for that specific project, my goal was, what can I write to make the singer really come out?
Yeah.
And, you know, and for me, that came with maturity. I would never have done that. I'll be honest with you. In my 20s, I would have been so butthurt and insecure, like, there's not enough notes, there's not enough shredding. Yeah. That's not what it's about. It's about the song, the message and the lyrics, right? Yeah. And that comes with maturity. It really does.
I think so too. Yeah, it's too bad about the band, but it is a great song, and like you say, it's there, right? That's a milestone, and it's something that you helped create and exists out there. I thought that was pretty cool. So we were talking about trading guitars,
right?
And that's one thing that you and I both have. I would love to be the man with one gun. So like I have my friend Dave Ashworth, who I played in bands with for years. He's got and I'm going to say it's 1978. I might get it wrong, but he's got a Strat that his father bought for him new in whatever it was, 1978. And that's the guitar he has. He's had a couple other ones. He had backups that were around. He had one that he gave to me because he never used. If you ever saw him ever in your life, he's going to have that guitar. He's that man with one gun. And I would love to do that. I'd love to be that guy. I am, for some reason, with drums. I'm the man with this kit. This is my
I
kit.
saw the other video you did where you were like, I don't know why.
But guitars, I want to be that guy, but I fall in and out of love, and I think that's something that we share because that's why our guitars are going back. But that's my first question, though. Like, is there a number one for you? Like, do you have one that's just like that's been the one that's been with me? Because I see you with different ones all the time. Do you have anything that you've had?
I don't. I can tell you that through the years recently, there has been bartering and trading at times. where there's been lower income in the house where I've had to supplement for my at the end of the
for
day,
family.
I will always sacrifice for the kids. Okay.
Yeah.
But you know what happened for me, at least when I was young, the guitar I did have, you know, I had a Stratton Les Paul
Mm.
for a good 10 years, and I really didn't want to know anything else because you're still discovering your craft. You're gonna swap pedals and amps, but your guitar. But then when I got into my 30s, it was weird. I went down that tunnel, which I'm still in, of what they call gas, gear addictive syndrome, and so, you know, I don't know if there's a set guitar. Sorry if there's some yelling. I got little runs running around.
Of course.
But what I can tell you that I've done recently, I've actually switched out the majority of my guitars to single pickup. Oh. And I saw a guy, I don't know if you know, phenomenal guitar player, Jared James Nichols.
Oh, yeah.
So he preaches a lot about the power, like Leslie West, with one pickup. And you know what? Honestly, it's weird. When you're restricted to just the one pickup, you have to learn how to get the sounds you would normally get out of different variations, or you actually learn to use the legendary the tone knob on a guitar, which most guitar players just rack up to 10 and there you go. Right?
Yeah.
And then again, same with like Joe Bonamassa. He's talking about how, you know, there's so much you can do if you, hey, once again, there's a tone knob on here, and if you roll that sucker back, you know. So that's what I've done. There's never going to be a one guitar for me. I don't know where it comes from. I actually don't. I really don't. You know, sometimes I thought, like, am I like maybe not happy with my level of playing? Do I have and you know what? The other thing that I have too is that I suffer from, you're gonna laugh, it's very stupid, Mike, but it's almost like a snobbery thing that I find a lot of musicians have too, where it has to say Gibson or it has to say Fender. It don't make you play better, but subconsciously I feel like I have a little extra mojo. But is it just me, or do you face the same thing? Because it's a ridiculous excuse, but I face it.
I'll tell you, I'm bad. So I'm the ride a Harley Davidson, play a Gibson, play a Fender. Like I am that slave to the brand. And I think, you know, and I'll be honest with you, I think that as you get better, so Costas in our band is a really accomplished player as well, and he, you know, he'll take an Epiphone out or whatever it is that it doesn't matter to him. But I think because, you know, you can go and it's like, well, look what I can do. I could play. Right. I wonder if I hide a little bit behind that label. Or that night that we went and did the guitar battle there and stuff, you had that, you know, it wasn't Hello Kitty. What was that?
No. So what it was is it was a pink. I modded it because I learned a lot of this stuff when I worked at Guitar Works. So I modded it. It was just a generic Bullet Strat, and I just swapped out things with it. Yeah. And it's funny. I get. It's the cheeky part of me, Mark. If I was a Ninja Turtle, I'd be like a Michelangelo. Okay, and it's the cheeky part of me because it's comical. Like you have a grown man show up with this like bubblegum pink guitar, like, and it had like a Kirby.
That's what it was. It was Kirby. Yeah,
and because they have no idea, and it's a wow factor. It's like a shock. It's like you know. Whereas if I was to get on stage and I had like a Gibson Studio or American Strat, well, it's a little bit more predictable. Like this guy probably knows what he's doing, or he's an oil rig worker that can afford it but can't play shit. It's one of the two, right?
I know. But that, you know, that's the reason. Like I think PRSs are really nice guitars, but I also think that there'd be an expectation that I can play better if they see me with that in my hand. I don't know.
PRS. Mm-hmm. That is the one guitar I have really tried. And people are probably there's going to be some hate comments in this video, but honestly, Mike, it's the one guitar. It doesn't, there's no mojo to it for me. I don't know what it is. Now, as a guitar player, the body, sure, but we live on the neck. That's what the guitar really is the neck. And I feel that to this date, and I've tried them all. I've tried custom 22s, the 24, the McCartys. I've tried all of these, But the neck, for some reason, I just don't jive with it. But you throw a Strat, Les Paul, or a Telly in my hand, and I feel like it's just home.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just it's weird.
Like I said, there's some mojo in it for sure, and it's you want to play what you'll pick up and play, like what motivates you to play.
Yeah,
it. Kind of,
exactly.
You gotta love it, right? So how many do you normally kind of?
Well,
have
if I could, I'd like to. At a bare minimum, I usually like to have 2 or 3. I've had to water it down quite a bit as kids. Things cost money, but really, you're not really gonna play. You can have 100 guitars.
Yeah.
But you and I both know that other than being in good company, you're only going to play two or 3 of them.
Yeah.
And right now, actually, I got a new band, and we're doing actually really good. And we're going in. We've decided to do a lot of drop C stuff. And so, but some of the songs are in drop D, and some of them. So you do need a couple guitars, so you don't have to like string, and when you have different guitars, this will be a nerding up thing. We can kind of you find that you can have a Strat and a Les Paul. Okay, they're different scale lengths, so you can have them in the same drop tuning, but because of the scale length, the strings have to be slightly thicker on the Les Paul side than on the Strat. And I like my tension very tight, very tight, where it almost give you carpal tunnel when you play. I like it tight. Not so much low action, but it has to be very tight. And have you found the same thing, that like when you're on a Strat, you can have slightly thinner strings than on a Les Paul? You need to have that chunkiness. And I also play differently too on a longer scale length than on a Les Paul. A Les Paul, I tend to want to play more chords.
Okay.
Whereas on a Strat, I feel like it's just open road shredding. I can just,
Well, that's one thing when we were trading guitars back and forth. Like that's one thing I noticed when I would get a guitar from you. Like that thing would have cables on it. Like, so what size strings do you normally put on a guitar?
Right now, I'm using Ernie Ball Beefy Slinkies, which are I want to say 12 to 54, 56. I used to use 13 to 60s. And again, I know it's but for instance, you give me a Strat, like a single coil traditional 60s style Strat, I'll go with a 8 to 46 on that.
Oh, really? Oh, right, like then.
Because I really want to get into more. I really want to bend the strings on this. I play differently on them, but if I had to stick with one guitar, I'd probably have a bit of thicker. You'll hear it, but it's funny because like I don't know if you follow Rick Beato.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And there was a skit where they took like 5 different guitar string thicknesses, and the weird thing was the 7s actually resonated more than say a 10 or 11. It was weird. You'd think that the lighter strings, but I wonder if it has something to do with the vibration, that maybe if it's more of a spaghetti string, it vibrates more.
Maybe. Maybe it's not quite strung as tight. I don't know.
But it really depends. Sometimes on a Les Paul, I like 11 to 48s.
Yeah.
Like I know Jamie Landry. He's a good friend of mine too. He likes 11 to 48s. And that man, I can tell you, man, him and I could give you a run for your money on trades. We always laughed, Mike, that in Calgary and Okotoks, it was always like that 6 to 8 people that kept circling these guitars so it's like what, buddy, it's okay, if you wanted this one, you'll get it the next round, don't worry, it's gonna make its round.
I've dealt with Jamie on a few things there, like even that we had that Prestige Rex Brown model. You and I think Jamie had that for a while too, because when he bought it, he didn't take the case, I remember, and I sold the case to somebody else, and then I ended up getting that guitar back from you and looking for the case. But even that Strat, when I sold you that Strat that had the
reverse headstock,
the hot rails there, those were from Jamie, those hot rails even. So
is that right?
Let's see. So what are you playing these days? What is the guitars that you got on the go?
So actually, this is actually kind of cool to show you. This is actually probably going to tick off a lot of Gibson fanboys. So this is a Chibson that I got.
Wow.
And I mean, it looks bang on to what an actual, I mean, right down to the headstock. It's got the placement's right where it needs to be. You know, it does it play like a Gibson? No. Does it play like an Epiphone or better? Yeah, it does. You know, and I found it's so weird by purchasing more lower end guitars. I'm not actually as inclined to swap and flip anymore. It's really weird. I actually feel like it means more to me, and I modify it to what I want, and it sounds killer. I take it into the studio with me. It's the right weight, and again, it's only one pickup, and it's got really nice. It doesn't have fret nibs, but it plays really good. And the best part is if somebody tried to steal it on stage, well, what is it, a few $100? I don't really feel that. It's an interesting topic because I have people who say to me, well, they've gone too far by putting the Gibson name on it, for instance, right? Now, I can understand trademarking and all of that, but it's an interesting question that I'll throw back at you. Morality is one thing, but like, Chinese guitars, they're not like they were 20 years ago. They're actually built pretty darn good now. And I tell people it's because the CNC machining has gotten much better. But where do you sit with this? Does it tick you off when you see something like this? Because I think it's a fair discussion to have openly with people. Some people might be annoyed by it. Where do you sit with something like that?
So with me, I think it's a worry. So what you have, and you paid for what you have, and you're happy with it, and that guitar makes you happy, and that's terrific. That the only thing that worries me is because, like you say, they get them pretty darn close, and you have to really know what you're looking for to find. And I'm sure that's just going to get better and better. It's just there's some people out there in the world that like I had that happen to me once with a Fender, where a guy, and we had traded something, and I had to basically put a covert operation together to get back with him in the same room and get my guitar back, because the one that he sold me was a full-on fake guitar, right? So that's the part that worries me. I think if they're out there and people know what they have, then that's great. If somebody
and that is true. That is true what you're saying, because it really would suck. Like, obviously, I would never condone posting something like this and saying it's the real thing. Now, you now would know what to look for, where you could tell. One of the easiest ways that I tell people is you take the truss rod cover off. You'll know right away. If it's in like a Strat, it's a knockoff. If it has the actual proper, like, hexagonal hammer style, it's probably, legit. But, when people have a problem is I tell them too, I'm like, well, if you look at the 80 lawsuit era, you had Fernandez Bernie, you had Tokai. They were making very good products too that were almost
they're sought after now, a lot of those.
But I'll tell you where my standpoint is with something like this. So I've owned the expensive Gibsons, for instance. Okay, now my personal opinion is anything that's come out before 2016 is very good Gibson, even the lower end studios. But have you found, like, for instance, when I was working at Guitar Works, I remember they got a Slash Les Paul. It was vermilion, like a red Slash. Okay, this is a $4,000 guitar out the door. You'd think that it would have a pretty nice book matching maple top cap on it, and it was so bad. The Epiphone had a nicer top than the Gibson. Like, so my message is, if you're going to spend $4,000 on, like, and I think that this is where they're starting to realize, if you look at Epiphone, those guitars are hitting it out of the park now. You know
what I think happens too is, like, it's like Harley Davidson. So same thing, like I've been a Harley guy for a lot of years, and there's things they could do to advance that platform, and they have to do it very, very slowly, because just like Martin guitars and stuff too, there's issues with them that's been forever, but they can't change them because it's a Martin. And I think that's what happens with those tops, is because when they go to the 50s, I don't think they were what would you call book matched. They were laid down a different way. So when they're making a guitar that's supposed to represent something that happened in the 50s, they do that on purpose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like where you see something like that's
So,
sorry, are you the man with one gun right now then? Is that
no, so I've got that, and actually you're gonna laugh, but I've been getting a lot of people ticked off with this one. So check this out.
That one on there. Yeah. Is that the newer ones that just came out?
Yeah, so this is the newer Hello Kitty, and I even put pink guitar strings on it. These are the DR neons.
Yeah. That's cool.
So like an elixir, they have like a
Are the dots pink too?
So the knobs got pink font on the knob. So here's the deal with this guitar, okay? Is apparently I'm not alone. Apparently the age demographic that they set for this is not who's buying these guitars. It's guys my age and older to your age that are seeing buying these guitars. And apparently nothing is more metal than a Hello Kitty guitar with one pickup. So I ended up again trading some gear. You know how it is. And these are almost sold out everywhere. But I have to say, this is built. If you've ever played a classic vibe, like they're not bad guitars.
Yeah, no, they're.
You know, if you throw in some nice pickups in there, you know, it's got a gorgeous gloss maple neck. It's a full body. It's a hard tail, so it's going to resonate extremely well. And, you know, the wife loves it. She says, you got to get on there with some guy liner and get on stage and play, right? So
is that the original pickup in there then too, or no?
Yeah, it's just they say that it's an Alnico pickup, so it is what it is. But, you know, I'll get on stage and I'll play some Yngwie Malmsteen on this, and everybody just howls. They think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And it's funny because I usually find, like, with music, it's almost like the individual's alter ego or persona comes out.
Yeah.
You know, like I know we've briefly talked about it. You know, you've had a great career and you've worked, and I work too. And I've been very good at work is work, and then Mark, musician, is Mark. I don't really mix the two. You know, so that's where I'm at now. And you know, I've got some other guitars at the jam spot that we jam at. But right now, I've always tried to have a telly, but it just never really gravitates. So I've really settled on there is no one guitar for me, but it's either a Strat or a Les Paul. I've narrowed it down.
Yeah.
You know? And if I was stranded on an island, it would probably have to be a Strat then. If I was on an island, it would be a Strat.
And so what's next for you? So you say you have a new band now?
Yeah, so we don't have a band name or anything. This will be a much more, you know, Kill for Candy was the idea of that band was to kind of be a very modern take on the 90s rock kind of scene. But this project is going to be a lot more up my alley, I think, where it's going to be a little bit more edgier and darker. You know, we're covering a lot of Tool right now. We're also doing a lot of the new metal stuff from the early 2000s, but we're also doing, you know, like the Foxy Lady Hendrix stuff and whatnot. But we're on the hunt for a vocalist, and I always tell people, don't get too ahead of yourself because everything changes once you get the singers. But my dream is to actually have my version of the Man Cave would just be a very good music studio. That is what I want. Because I do have a big passion for the production side of things.
Yeah.
I actually, Mike, I prefer hands down playing. If I could be a session guitar player, I'd be the happiest person in the world. I don't actually enjoy playing as live as much as the studio, because that's where the magic happens, and that's where you really tone shape and you realize, man, how your guitar sounds through that amp, that is not how that sounds through that microphone, through that PA right now. It sounds so different. You know,
and we're there right now. You find that there's a lot of magic that does happen. Even the songs we've been playing for a couple of years, going, well, let's go play them. And you get in there and it's like, oh, there was a happy accident, or there's something, or you realize there's a rub.
And sometimes that happens. Now, and the cool thing that you have these days versus, I saw this video in 1980, Hedley Grange, and Phil Collins is there with Genesis, and they had to do a retake of the drum fill, and they had the old school reel-to-reel tape where you had to you had to catch it right in the moment, and then you had to cut it and try to re-record.
You imagine
now, and even when you take like a clean DI track, it's killer because if you don't like your guitar tone, well, fuck it, don't worry about it. You can patch in any impulse response. It's almost disgusting how easy it is to record now.
Okay, so I know we're gonna have to edit this baby down. As much as I love us talking for an hour and a half, I think I just to wrap it up, I really appreciate. I appreciate nerding out with you anyway. We always have a good time talking guitars, so I thought that we'd have time. But no, I appreciate you taking the time and
any opportunity to talk this stuff, because I got a handful of friends that are like that. There's already a rule book for Mark with house parties. Must not have a guitar anywhere visible if he's coming over, because dude, like you're telling me about going to a place to try guitars. I could confidently tell you that if I tagged along, you wouldn't hear a peep out of my mouth. It would be like, okay, where's the next one, Mike? Okay, Mike, where's the next guitar?
100%.
Okay, buddy. Well, listen.
Right on, brother.
I'm gonna follow you and Wild Oscar, what you guys are doing. I'm planning on actually coming into Calgary with the family probably before the spring. So if you guys are planning a gig by then, I'd love to come out and check you out. But I think this is cool. I'm gonna follow the next video you have with whoever you're talking to. And maybe you can hit up Jamie Landry and talk about gear trades. You can go on for hours with gear trades with you.
That's a good idea. I think I might actually do that.
Okay, buddy. Well, you enjoy the rest of your weekend, and best of luck to you in your musical journey. Okay, buddy.
You too, my friend. Good to see you.
Okay, you take care.
Goodbye.
Okay.